Our first performer is going to be Eka Savajo. Eka is a senior at the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. He is an aspiring screenwriter and hopes a toad plays him in his biopic.
Hey, I'm Eka Savajo. I sat, my skin sagging against the cold light the moon casts. The air touched my body, my whole body. It held my body and pulled it towards the earth. I felt my body accelerate down. I felt gravity as she sat on my chest. I recognized her, and I recognized myself, my outline, and my insides. For the first time, I sat acutely aware of my body. This first time did not come at a wedding in Katy where no one would make the effort to move their lips in the shape of my foreign name. Not as the smoke of cigarettes and barbecue and Bush's baked beans suffocated me in my green sheer shirt. Not between pitiful smiles from old white men whose eyes shined imagining how doomed I was for wearing one dangly earring. This first time did not come as they checked my hands, my hair, my chest at the airport on the way to a funeral. It was not the night of the funeral, at the dinner on the beach in Pointe de Spiguet, as I stuck out against the sand and the linen of the white skin of the paternal side of my family that pretended to not recognize me, who looked like the migrants they so feared. This first time did not come as a group of people reminded me so aggressively that my body was worth something as we huddled around the couch in the Montreux Center, not as we held each other under the fluorescence, not as we laughed in the way only we could laugh because our judgments of each other were fabricated under the blanket of our protection. This first time did not come as I screamed "screw you" to the boys yelling at me as they drove their mom's car past. It was not as my friends and I ran when they followed us, not as we ducked into a gap meant for water to flow, not as we ran through wet grass. This first time was coming as I sat still. I saw the outside. People walked to their cars. The trees outside my window bobbed. Cats dragged their legs across the street. They all looked away. Even the street lights did not face me. I was completely alone. In every instance, in the wet grass, the church, the center, the beach, the wedding, I was not my body. I was people's appraisal of my body. But alone with the light, my body was not what someone watching it made it. My body was not monstrous, and my body was not gorgeous. My body was not assumption, not opinion, not desire. It was fact. No mirror was there for me to strike against my body. No book, no image, no sound was there to make me someone. I was free to be no one, my body free to be nothing. In that light, I was my body. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Next performer we're going to have is Kai Parker. Kai is a junior at Carnegie Vanguard High School. Kai enjoys writing, sewing, photography, and exploring new music in her free time. She also loves traveling with her family and babysitting her younger brother. In the future, she plans to practice medicine as an OBGYN.
Inspiration is hard to come by. Your will to express coming and then going. I haven't written a poem in a year, and before that, another. And before that, I wrote pages and pages of words, pouring my soul onto paper again and again. The words came and are now gone. They escaped into a crevice of my brain that I can see but not touch. I can feel the words coursing through my veins and giving me life, but these words traveling through my veins, pumping into my heart, do not come out of my mouth. I cannot express them. What is the point of living off of words but not being able to say them? Who am I if not the girl with the words, the one who writes poetry? For a moment, I was scared the words had gone completely. But they were just hiding in a new place. But now they are slowly coming back. Thank you.
That was fabulous. Next, we have Jackson Paul. Jackson Paul is a senior at Stratford High School. Despite being visually impaired, he has continued to pursue his interest in writing and public speaking throughout his high school career. He is a published author and hopes to use writing to make the world a better place.
As the man continued to walk down the carpeted hall, the candles on the walls began stuttering. Great, just great. He took a left turn, third left out to the birch door, and picked up his pace. Picked it up so much, in fact, that as he rounded a sharp corner, he bumped right into a well-dressed woman with elaborately styled hair. Margaret! James, I see you had the same idea I did. They had turned down a third hallway, which appeared well better kept than they had yet been in. As they walked through the darkness, lit only by the periodic candles, they got more and more frantic. Really, Margaret, we should have seen this coming sooner. The candles have been dimming for some time, at least a month, and now it may be too late. Nonsense, James, she said. Next term is third left from here, they both thought. The door has held for time immemorial. That they would break it now would be inconceivable. He stopped and turned towards her. Yes, because that worked out so well the last time you said that. She blushed a moment, then pushed past him. Well, I suppose we'll see soon enough. They passed through the sitting room, full of stiff chairs and dusty bookshelves, from which Aristotle's Ethics gazed sadly upon the well-dressed couple, unread since being added to the library by its author. Anyway, while the candles are a bad sign, at least they haven't gone out. Not yet. And since you're so confident, why did you check at all? Because you couldn't shut up about it, wheeling on him. You worry about everything. Every single thing. Your paranoia about these doors made you ignore everything good about your life. Even me, who, if you haven't forgotten, you married. Well, she sped up. If you're so worried about my paranoia, then why did you agree to move here? This was your idea, he said. When the darkness first began its new efforts to force its way through the door, you were the one who moved us to the manor. You were the one. Enough! She was several feet ahead of him now. It was a mistake to come here. I would have never come to check if Why are you stop? They had now come to a room about the size of a large atrium with colored marble floors. Here, at last, were windows, bright stained glass, windows that let in a strong golden light. At the other end of the atrium were three doors. On the left was an ornate wooden door with nothing particularly unusual about it other than the intricate carvings of wolves and dragons on its surface. The door to the furthest right was a solid silver with flowing glyphs on it. The silver door was a bit bigger than the wooden one, about the right size for a tallish basketball player. The most noteworthy thing about the silver door were the two crystal spheres half buried in the wall next to it, which were labeled Loco and Tempo in faded silver lettering. The central door was glowing. At a massive 20 feet tall and 6 feet wide, its plain gold surface was polished enough to be a mirror, but it was ever so slightly giving way to something on the other side. Look, Margaret said, pointing to muddy prints leaning away from the silver door. Tracks. Looks like they found a way around the Golden Gate after all. Judging by the number of tracks, they've been coming and going through the silver one for weeks. But if they've escaped after all, then why? She was interrupted by a thumping sound from behind the golden door. Not all of them got out, apparently. Seeing as the candles were still on, I highly doubt any of the big ones escaped. Suddenly, there was a sound like an earthquake, and the golden doors buckled 3 feet into the room. Well, obviously something's still out there, but they're gonna get out soon. James walked over to the crystal spheres by the door. But what if we could fix where out was? I see, but what if they could just use the silver door to get back to? Not if it didn't work. She joined him over by the crystal spheres and began spinning them. How about the Horseshoe Nebula and say 1 million AD, she suggested. Let's see them get out from that. The golden doors buckled in another few inches. Do you still have my wedding present? She asked. Never left my side. He took out a bronze knife and used it to pop out both crystal spheres. Send them through the dark door then? I suppose that's the only way. She walked over to the wooden door and laid her hands on the door. Hurry. Okay, so we can open them quickly on 3. 1. His hands trembled on the knob. 2. His voice shook as he counted, and then the crystal spheres began pulsating his hands. 3. The temperature dropped as the door was opened. James threw the spheres through the doors and jumped back as Margaret slammed it shut. His hands were frostbitten. Just in time, too, Margaret said as the golden door gave in. I guess it's time we go. James and Margaret embraced, and as shards of gold through the room. The last thing James saw were Margaret's eyes gazing into his. And then they left, and the candles went out. Thank you.
Awesome. Next, we have Miss Lara Gunduz. Before moving to Houston 4 years ago, Lara was born in Seattle and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. She is currently a senior at Energy Institute High School and spends her free time oil painting, reading about politics, and listening to music.
What I knew that Agechi did too. What I knew that Agechi did too was that her hair was big, but it didn't look as wild as the boys had called for it. The way her thin black wires jumped up and down as she walked, the air she was privileged to breathe came in. What I knew that Agechi knew as well was how she sat in the front of class and wrote on her skin with neon pens, although they wouldn't show up. You see, what I know Agechi knows that I know that we were both confused by was when the teacher talked about 9/11 attacks and how it all sued us together, making up a quilt of a country. After all, we were all Italian, Irish, German, Chinese, not a melting pot of cultures, but a volcano, which is exactly what I thought when I asked the guy sitting next to me where he was from and received the reply of, I'm American. Now, in translation, I'm American means that you've lived here enough to assimilate into customizing restaurant orders, or kind of how I'm a Texan means that you either love Whataburger, the Astros, or trucks. I would hear the boys ask her to rap, give her caution when she refused. I would hear the girls slap their trays away from our table, so I stopped brushing my hair. But we all know what Agechi did, that your narrow eyes or your skin did not represent your worth, but accepting this was always an option. I would hear a lot about her, that she dims the class photos almost like a tooth missing. Someone's tooth may go missing, and her eyes do not only weigh on her tongue but on her face. Her hands keep getting dismissed, and you think she doesn't understand? What she doesn't understand is how you don't see that with those hands she carries luggages of hope when she can't even carry when she should be carrying vanity. And her ribcage doesn't protect her heart, it protects her from your white skin. Almost like a wall. You said she doesn't understand, but what she doesn't understand is why you act as if your fathers have never crossed borders before. You know that barbed wires only celebrate that you stepped on oysters of chaos and weeds of disorder. But finally, when you're at that border, your shoes continue their decay into the mush of promises that have been released into shame. Someone else's hope or a forgotten dignity rock on your spine. But you've made it. This is America, and just like anywhere else that you're from, she won't let you sleep. She'll knock your door down and let you cry all night on repeat, talk grand, but for your children, you remember that yesterday you had a grave for your opinions and another one for your skin, so that tomorrow they won't. I think we all knew what Agechi did too. Thank you.
Wonderful. Next, we have Herbert Arturo Mendoza. He is a student at Carnegie Vanguard High School. His greatest influences are Shel Silverstein, Langston Hughes, Gil Scott-Heron, and Jim Morrison.
My name is Herbert, and my poem is titled My Last Visit. I know it's been a while, but I brought you your favorite flowers. As I kneel and watch you lie, I fear we grow closer by the hours. Before you left, you told me to tell stories of your name and to remember in good taste, and so I have. I've remembered the storm that left my home awry, that took my mama away and left me in the rain to dry. I remember my kiddish cries, to which you responded with lovely lullabies, and how you held me close as those dreary clouds fled from the morning skies. I remembered it all, the good and not so good, or at least in the beginning I did. But it's those days that I can no longer seem to recall, those days before I began to stand tall, those days when your lips flirted with dirty alcohol, those days behind the broken brick wall. Since then, not much has changed, I suppose. Yes, I've creases aside my lips and bags off my eyes, but I'm all the same. Yes, I've begun to come into my own and decided to let my hair grow, but I'm all the same. Believe me. I know I don't come visit as often as I could. I know I don't think of you as often as I should. But it hurts too much, for you see, since you've left, I've broken, acted as my father's son. You told me to move on, but forgot to point in which direction to run. The night is coming on. Please don't make me leave. Tell me, please, how it feels to be free. Give me the life I've lived before, for my sorrow I just can't seem to ignore. Oh, how I wish I could tell you more, but time goes on, and the wheel must keep turning. But before I go, you told me to come visit when I was feeling lost. You told me to ask the earth any lingering thoughts. So please tell me why I must grow, why I must forget the person I once loved the most. Tell me if this life I've lived is worth seeing all the way through. Please tell me why you had to leave so soon. Tell me why I shouldn't be leaving too. That way, I would never go away. I'll be young forever, right at your side. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from 4 talented writers that are a part of Writers in the Schools, an organization started in 1983 that works hand in hand with educators and professional writers to teach students the craft of writing. WITS is transforming the hearts and minds of young people all over Houston. First, we have Calvin King. Calvin King is a performance poet born and raised in Houston, Texas. He was part of the 2019 Metaphor Houston Youth Poetry Slam team. In his free time, he is either ranting about pro wrestling or binging Marvel movies.
Okay, great. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Calvin King. Beforehand, I should ask everyone, who has been to a poetry slam? Hands up, hands up. Oh, nobody? Okay, bet. All right. So, right. The way we do things at a poetry slam, if you hear something that you like, you clap, you snap, you make noises, you stomp, whatever you like, and you hear it, you do that. So we're gonna do a real quick test run. Before I do this, I'm gonna say something awesome, and then you guys are gonna respond by clapping, snapping, just showing approval, all right? Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Something awesome. Yeah, all right. Okay. I should say thank you to everybody for showing up tonight. It really means the world to me. I got one thing to share with the Congra, with my family. At about the age of 6 was when I first saw the light as the TV screen shined thy holiest of men into my living room. I was asked to let this deity into my heart and allow him to wash away all my sins. His name is strength to us believers, but I've been taught that seeing is indeed believing. But he is felt because in the book of John, in the holy, sanctified book of John Cena, you can't see me. All my life, I've been the undersized, the underrated, a professional underdog. Under the tutelage of the wrestling god John Cena, I became a follower. I walked in his steps. John Cena instilled in me back in 2005 when he turned rap to gospel like water to wine in his holy album. The phrase, "it's gon' be what it's gon' be," is universally interpreted as let go and let John. Cena's in the business of blessings and curses, and all of his matches are a parable. I remember bending the will to the bully at the English Oaks apartment until one day, I refer to Book of John, chapter, United States Championship, verse 2015. It turned the entire apartment complex into my own arena. Took 2 hits, just to give one, to make John proud, to make me proud. That day, followed by many, I learned it's not enough to just pray, but you must never beat pray. And if you turn your scripture to chapter I Quit match, verse 2009, I was put in the longest headlock ever, unsure of which way was up and which way was down, but I didn't know I was down and out. I'm still learning to fall and rise within the same motion. Apostle John taught me to shake the ring rust off, take the clothesline, and never, ever give up, because no weapon formed against my German suplex shall prosper. But you see, some matches got too disastrous for the ring, so they spilled into my backstage, but bear with me. Have you ever felt like you were never a world champion? Can I get an amen? Have you felt like you were your own #1 contender? Can I get an amen? Have you felt like the world turned heel on you? Felt like you were climbing your own ladder just to be knocked off? Felt like you were wrestling a super heavyweight only to know that you were out of your league? Yes, Lord, can I get an amen? For years, Satan had to bear the nail and cross injustice of bloodthirsty crowds, had stones cast towards him. For John so loved the world, he gave his only begotten body. That's why I get so disgusted when someone calls wrestling fake, when it gave me the strength to share my story today. I now stand on victories I gained from throwing my doubts over the top rope. And if you have a problem with how I gain solace in my serenity, that's fine, because you can't see me anyway. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Calvin. Next up, we have MC Zendejas. MC Zendejas is a fiction writer, artist activist, and English tutor from Houston, Texas. His work is featured in Bull, Men's Fiction, Drunk Monkeys Literature Plus Film, Z Publishing's anthology, Texas's Best Emerging Writers, Underground, 5-to-1 Magazine, Your Impossible Voice, and X-Ray Magazine. His debut chapter, Swimming Through the Void, was published earlier this year and explores themes of class, the Latinx experience, and gender. He enjoys death metal and kickboxing.
That's good. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. It goes this way.
Hi guys, thank everyone so much for coming out. Thank you to the museum for having us. Thank you to all the amazing writers that came before me and the ones that are going to come after. So this is the first time I've read this piece in public. It was published earlier this year in 5-to-1 magazine, so we'll see how this goes. It's called Death Mask. Every day, someone new is gone. Streets that are rough and filled with potholes wind along a maze of what used to be homes and community centers. Sprouting in their place, gourmet coffee shops and trendy thrift stores. What houses are left look more like shacks, and the lawns that haven't crumbled into stretches of coarse yellow are overgrown, almost waist high. They've even installed an entire arts district. The museum has death masks lined up along the main corridor of the second floor. Some look more human than others, with small beaded dreadlocks lining wooden faces at rest. There's a bronze plaque bolted to the wall next to them that says, "Such casts obviate idealized representations by revealing the actual features of the individual," which makes you feel uneasy beneath all their stares. So you walk out the room to a section of wide windows overlooking the area surrounding the building. A crowd bursts into the foyer with fists held high, chanting, "Decolonization is not a metaphor." Everyone around you takes their phone out. Some cheer, enjoying the chanting crowd. They make their way through the foyer to the antiquity section. People in earth-colored dashikis remove large West African wood carvings from the wall mounts. The clatters and bangs echo throughout the shining white marble halls. They smash Picasso's Cubist work and say it's just a lesser version of their masks anyway. Then they take the masks. Indian women wrap saris around ornate depictions of Brahma to keep safe on the trip home. They do it with wide smiles resting across their cheeks. Furious, the curator, in a blue pantsuit with stilettos shaped like literal bombs, demands security do something, but all museum security staff have shed the thick black blazers and earpieces that are the marker of their occupations and are now two joining in on the reclaiming. Gonzalez has a gigantic seashell carved with indigenous myths cradled to his face, eyes closed in complete rapture. The curator stamps her bomb-shaped shoes on the checkerboard floor and screams that if they want decolonization so bad, they should just vote. En masse, the crowd starts to chant, "Yankee, go home!" and someone throws an Aztec calendar stone at her as she runs out the door, only missing by a matter of inches. By the time they've removed all their contributions, the museum is practically empty. There's cheers and group hugs, people raising long-lost artifacts above their heads with misty eyes. Smash cases make the floor glitter with broken glass, and people around you put cell phones back in their pockets or their purses. They carefully make their way out, being sure not to bump into the two men in red chengshens walking down the front steps of the building, a piece of painted silk balanced between them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MC. Next, we have Madison Pettaway. Madison Pettaway is a junior at Westbury High School. Madison is Houston's 2020 Youth Poet Laureate. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Her work grapples with the complexities surrounding mental illness and education while celebrating and advocating for youth empowerment. She is a member of the 2019 Metaphor Houston Youth Poetry Slam team and has performed her work on local and national stages.
Okay, so as mentioned, I am Houston's next Youth Poet Laureate, and I am so excited. I'm also really excited to be a reader here tonight, and all the writers who came before me were great. Can't wait for Keagan to come up. But yeah, this is my poem. At 16, I was listed as FBI's most wanted description. We have reason to believe she can pass for a white girl. She may have shed her acrylics, cut down her hair, but she has phantom skin and raven eyes. You can't miss her. If seen, please regard her as armed and dangerous. I was the second most dangerous specimen alive, only to that of a black man. Emmett Till was 14 when he was convicted by association, his skin a criminal, wanted long before our skin was ever wanted. He, like many black men, were caught black-handed. Deemed too dark, too dirty by an all-white jury, so they sentenced him to be whitewashed in the nearby river. Now he's waiting on his brothers and sisters to come join him. But heaven forbid my brother find comfort in a coffin with its white pillows and skirts. Even when open coffins these days seem more like open invitations, I will not subject my brother to the public eye so we can start a revolution. My brother was 18 years old when I begged him to be wary of his speed when driving. Keep his hood off outside. Let him know that this is not a take-a-ticket system. You have seen how quickly they mistake wallet for pistol, waitlist for hit list. I will not tell mom to give you an open casket. The FBI will still be out for your arrest, and I will not let them touch you. So tie up your white sneakers, get rid of that black shirt, exchange it for all white, because I will not let you die a black boy, but a boy. Our skin is already funeral attire. And I want you to know what it's like to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Keagan Wheat. Keagan Wheat is a musician and creative writer from the University of Houston. His poetry often focuses on transgender identity and how others, especially family, interact with that identity, though his more recent poetry starts thinking through how congenital heart disease impacts his identity. His work has been featured on volumes 20, 21, and 22 of Glass Mountain. He has also been published by Z Publishing and Texas Best Emerging Poets, the fall 2018 version of Tulane Review, and Shards issue 4 and 7.
Thank you all for coming out again. Also, Jesus, all of these readers have been so amazing. Okay, this is gonna be sad, I'm sorry. So this one's called Give Me a Name. I stand transfixed by the TV. I can't tell what's playing, thoughts fall over, how to ask for a name that doesn't feel like addressing someone else. A soft glimmering tree plants itself on the edge of a scattering room. This tree, taking 4 weeks of urging to buy, marks the time my mom tries to address my father's family's homophobia, so I'm not the only one. I ask about my mom's cousin, Stella, who changed her name to better match her Latina identity, her favorite cousin. I encourage myself, remembering my mom read the book I used to come out. This is a book for parents of gay kids. Learn the basics, ask questions, spread resources for queer kids. She apologized after forcing me to say I was a lesbian, after offering no response, after silently averting. She drove with crumpled Red Bull cans all night to make a Tegan and Sarah concert. We stood in line alone together for hours laughing about autostraddle articles. Now I try to ask as seriously as nerves allow about getting a new name. The walls and ceiling amble towards us, a trapping comfort. After I'm dead, she chuckles out. I start creating a list of off-limit topics, untimely deaths of gerbils, my own queerness, the silliness of men's soccer, my own comfort. After every defense she made between my father's family and my queerness, I didn't actually expect the woman that wears a shirt that reads, "Everyone is gay," to dismiss and laugh in the face of queerness. My mom hides in her room. After locking the door, tears fall. She talks to God, begs for her baby girl. She could grow to love her daughter, performing Butch Dyke, still had the perfect number of 1 son and 1 daughter. Thank y'all.
Wonderful. That was our final reading of the evening. Thank you to all of our fine authors and poets for performing tonight. It was better than I could have ever imagined. I am so impressed with the turnout this evening. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Ms. Adriana Benavides, as well as all of the other museum staff to help make this event possible and guiding the Teen Council in all of our efforts. You are a constant source of inspiration, and we thank you so much. That's her right there, by the way, in the red. She's wonderful. Wonderful. On behalf of the Teen Council, we thank you so much for coming out tonight, and we hope you all have a wonderful evening.